What is going on today? I'm going to do two examples in this video, but each example has three parts. I'm actually going to do parts on three different pages here. So it says a football is pointed from a height of 3 feet above the ground with a velocity of 45 feet per second. Okay, part A, we'll just worry about that first. Calculate the football's maximum height. So I put maximum height. So we've learned before that to set up a maximum, it's a parabola, and we have to find the top point. Okay, no boxes needed. So I have to find the x and the y at that point. Okay, so x is opposite of b divided by 2 times a, and to find our y, we simply sub x into the equation, sub the x value into the equation. Well, that's great, but we need an equation. Now, there's a force that pulls the football back down, and it's gravity. Okay? Now, remember how to write the gravity equation. I'm going to need an x to the second plus an x term plus a constant if there is one. I can get by without the constant if I don't need it. And that's going to be our y, okay, equals y. Okay, so gravity. The gravity coefficient goes here, and that's negative 16. Now this is the velocity, that's how fast it's moving, that would be 45, and then this is the start height, which is 3. And I'm right there. I don't have any parentheses or anything I need to multiply out. I have my A, I got my B, I got my C. I don't really need C in this part, but so opposite of B, negative 45, and then we multiply our 2 by negative 16, so that's negative 32. So then we take negative 45 divided by negative 32, and I get that. If you want to go second, PRB equals, yeah, let's just round to the nearest hundredth. So 1.41. Now the x is your seconds, okay? So that's your time. Remember, x is always time. And then y is a feet at the maximum height, and I can find that simply by replacing the x's with 1.41. And then I substitute those in. That goes in for both the x's at the same time. Okay, we've got 34.64, so that's your maximum height, approximately. Okay, then on the next problem, part B. Same information, now I got to find the football's height after 1 second, okay? So I set up my boxes, seconds and feet. X is the seconds, Y is the feet, so feet per second. Feet per second is 45, but I don't think this is a linear thing, so I don't make the table. I'm going to go over here and make my parabola. So remember what we want to do. We want to mark where it starts, okay? It starts at 3 feet, so 3 feet's the starting point. And then it's going to end, and then on the other side of the parabola, again, you mark your starting point, and then somewhere on the other side, just put 1 second question mark, okay? 1 second question mark. So now I line up my equation, blank x to the second plus blank x plus blank equals y, okay? Okay, so I've got negative 16. And then 45, same on the last equation, and then the starting height's 3 feet. Now 1 second, seconds is x, so x equals 1, not y, so we're going to substitute 1 in for our x's, both of them, okay? That'll find y for me. Because y is by itself, I don't really need to do any inverse operations. Inverse is when you have to get the letter by itself. Okay, I got 32, so 32 feet is the answer. Okay, then on part C. Okay, after how many seconds the ball landed on the ground? The ground means 0 feet. So again, we got feet and seconds. Now we want to go with our boxes because I'm not finding the maximum. Okay, so x, y, so per feet per second. That's going to be 45 times x, okay? Now, I don't make the table because it's not a linear relationship, okay? The feet and the seconds, as the seconds move, the feet go up, come down. It's a parabola. Okay, so again, I want to mark where we started, 3 feet. And then over here, I want to put what the question's asking me, which is 0 feet, which should be right here. 0 feet, question mark. Okay, so I've got my quadratic equation for gravity. So negative 16. Then we apply a 45 coefficient to the x, and then 3 is the starting height. Okay, now 0 feet, okay? Well, it's feet, so that goes in for feet equals y, okay? So y equals 0. So now I have to put 0 in for the y. And I have to solve for the x's. Now x has 2 solutions. See, on the last problem we had y left over, so x has 2 solutions. So I got to find them, okay? So what kind of equation we have for a quadratic? You got a, b, and c, okay? So it's equal to 0 already. We're good there. Okay, so with an ABC, first and if it's already equal to 0, I want to apply my discriminant to see if I have to waste time trying to factor it or if the quadratic formula is the best way to go. So B is 45, and then 4, A is negative 16, and C is 3. Okay, so I punch that with the square root into the calculator. Now, just because one parenthesis came up, you have to enter your own parentheses for the 45, close it, raise it to the second. You just hit the key next to the 7. Then I minus parentheses 4, parentheses negative 16, and parentheses 3. Okay, I got 40. Okay, so that's an irrational number, so I'm going to do the quadratic formula. So if I get an irrational number like that, opposite of b, opposite of b, and also you might want to write 47.09 right there. Plus or minus d square root b squared minus 4ac, b squared minus 4ac over 2a, over 2a. So what's the opposite of positive 45? Negative 45. Now, haven't I already figured this out? I mean, it's a story problem, so we're going to we're just going to cross it out and put the approximation 47.09. See, I don't want to do it in exact because it's a story problem. Okay, I'm not going to have any square roots in the answer. It's an approximation. Okay, then 2 times a is negative 16. So we have the plus minus. In front of it, we have negative 45. 2 times negative 16 is negative 32, and we know from doing the discriminant, because the discriminant's the same thing as that, 47.09. So I take negative 45 plus 47.09, click equals, then I divide by negative 32. I get negative 0.06. And then I take negative 45 and subtract 47.09, and I add negative 30, or remember, you gotta find you gotta do the subtraction first before you divide. See how I'm doing this? I hit equals, then I divide. 2.88. Okay, so I obviously want the pot. We cross out the negative because the seconds, it's 2.88 seconds. See, the reason you got a negative here is because it was never at 0 feet at the beginning. Okay, so 0 feet, question mark. Well, now I know with 0 feet it's 2.88 seconds. Okay, we're going to run through another round. A basketball is thrown in the air from a height of 6 feet with an initial velocity of 40 feet per second. Find the ball's maximum height. So you're finding the maximum height. So again, maximum, draw the big center parabola and mark off how to find that. So opposite of b divided by 2 times a, and then to find that's our x, and then to find y, we simply sub x, sub for x, sub this number in for x in equation. Now I got to get the equation now. So it's the same gravity equation. Gravity is what's pulling the basketball back down, even though that's much bigger. Equals y. Okay, so this is my gravity, negative 16. This is the velocity, okay, which we have at 40. And the starting height 6. So I have my A, I have my B, I have my C. So opposite of B, it's going to be negative 40, and on bottom we're going to take 2 times negative 16. That's negative 32. We divide negative 40 by negative 32, and that's 1.25. So that's how many seconds it took to get to the maximum height. Now to find the actual feet, the actual maximum height, we replace our x's with 1.25. So I got negative 16 times 1.25 to the second plus 40 times 1.25 plus 6 equals y. So y is on one side by itself, so I can just plug and chug my way to the answer. Okay, so 31 equals y. So 31 feet is your maximum height. Alright, part B. Find the ball's maximum height after 2 seconds. So we're going to see what I got going on here. Okay, this is how I like to format everything when I'm not finding the maximum. Okay, so feet and seconds. I've already found the maximum. Now we're finding something else. So do your boxes. You're just not going to make a table because the units would not relate to each other in a linear fashion. Okay, so feet per second, 40 times x. By table, I mean there was a time this year where we made the x, seconds, and feet. Now, the reason why is because it goes up, comes down, okay? So the velocity really isn't constant, it's initial, okay? So we know right there. Okay, what do? Well, we want to mark where it starts at. It starts at 6 feet. Okay, we have that established. Now, on the other side of the parabola, label somewhere, put 2 seconds, and then question mark. Because that's the number we substitute into the equation. You have to sub it in for the right variable though. Okay, so I set up my same equation I did on the last problem. So we have negative 16 followed by 40 and then followed by 6. Okay, now 2 seconds. Did that go in for x or go in for y? Well, look at this box. Seconds is x, so x equals 2 seconds. So we're going to replace the x's with 2. So it's similar to what it, and then this makes it a very quick process. Because you see y is by itself, and I can just plug my way and chug to the y value. Okay, so 22 is your answer. So 2 seconds, we had 22 feet. So feet equals 22. Okay, then finally part C. After how many seconds is the ball 20 feet in the air? So we're finding the seconds. So you have seconds and feet. X is seconds, y is feet. You gotta be careful here. Feet per second is still the same thing, 40 times x. Don't bother with the table because it's not a linear thing, it's a quadratic, it's a parabola. Okay, we only use a table if it's a linear equation. Like if I make $20 per week, well, the money keeps just going up by the same amount, $20 per week. So that's why the table helped on those, but not on these. Okay, mark your starting point. Okay, 6 feet still. And on the other side, put what they're asking you about, 20 feet, question mark. Originally I had put 45, but that's not even possible because we just found 31 feet on the maximum height. If that's the maximum, there's no way you get 45. That's why I've crossed that out. Okay, now it's equation time. Gravity. So you got your gravity, negative 16. Velocity is 40. Then your start height is 6. And this is a number that goes into the equation. Now 20 feet, okay? Feet is y, so that's going in for y. Okay, so replace your y with 20. You don't need parentheses because y doesn't have a multiplier. And now you got to find the 2 answers for x. See, on the problem before, I'm not finding 2 answers for y because y isn't to the second power, but x is, okay? So, what kind of a quadratic we have? Well, an A, a B, a C, and another C. So first thing we have to do is get everything to one side. So minus 20, minus 20. So negative 16x squared plus 40x, negative 14 equals 0. So this is my ABC condensed. So b squared minus 4 times a times c. Again, I set this up because, again, now you've learned the quadratic formula. If I get an irrational number, meaning one that isn't a whole number, okay, I'm using quadratic formula because I know if I get an irrational decimal, I'm never going to be able to factor it. I mean, you would have a GCF of -2, okay, but the t-chart, that's a waste. You'll never find it. So b is 40, a is -16, c is -14. So plug that in, and also put what you get, because that helps for later. I don't have to recreate the wheel. Remember, you need 2 parentheses when doing this. -4, -16, -14, okay? Alright, that's irrational, 26.53. So I'm using quadratic. Opposite of b, opposite of b, plus or minus the square root, b squared minus 4ac, b squared minus 4ac over 2a, over 2a. So the opposite of b is going to be -40. And this whole square root, I've just figured that out, 26.53. So again, use that to your advantage. I think I got it in my calculator right. Yeah, I did. Okay, so, and your a is -16. So let's clean up the outsides of the square root. So you got -40, -32, and then we know that square root has approximated this 26.53. So, a story problem, I'm doing approximation. I don't want that square root garbage. Click equals, divide by -32. I got 0.42, okay? And then I do the subtraction. Okay, 2.08. Now, you want to take, it said it land, okay, is a ball 20 feet. So you're going to put both those answers, 0.42, 2.08. Now you're like, how come I get 2 actual viable answers here, but on the last problem I didn't? Well, you see it starts at 6 feet, and it's going to be 20 feet here as well. Okay, see on the last problem, it wanted 0 feet. Well, it was never at 0 feet on the way up. It's at 20 feet on the way up, so that would be 0.42 seconds. And over here would be 2.08 seconds. Alright guys, you got one to do. I hope that made sense, and let me know if you got questions.